AgTech 360 discusses breakthrough technologies that are impacting growers, businesses, and consumers. Hear from industry and academic experts about what's on the horizon.
Welcome back to AgTech 360. Today we're taking a closer look at micropeptides, tiny molecules found in plants that are unlocking new sustainable options for protecting crops from weeds and diseases. Instead of relying on traditional chemicals, they provide a more sustainable, precise way to support plant health. Joining us today is Mikael Courbot, who's from Micropep, and he's going to tell us about how he is helping to bring this cutting-edge science from the lab to the field. Welcome, Mikael. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Adrian. Very happy to be here as well.
So let's talk about the technology. So what exactly, in simple terms, please, what exactly is a micropeptide and why are they so important and exciting for agriculture?
So micropeptides are, let's say, very small proteins, so extremely small proteins. We know the peptides are already small and micropeptides are the next level down. Those peptides are made of natural amino acids, so they are basically polymers of amino acids. And typically for us at Micropep, they are between 10 to 20 amino acid long. And the big advantage of those molecules, obviously, is that they are small, they are of natural origin, so they're composed of natural amino acids, and it gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of their use for agriculture.
And so how would they compare with then a traditional synthetic herbicide or fungicide in terms of size and...
Let me tell you what they have in common, and then we can go maybe to the difference. So in common, you're absolutely right that those peptides have different level of activity in terms of indication. So we can find fungicides, herbicides, as well as insecticide with peptides. What they are also in common is that they are polymers. So they are also chemicals. So it's also chemistry. And the biggest difference that they have is regarding their size. So compared to a small molecule, I would say a classical pesticide, we can say that we are about 10-fold bigger. So let's say a small molecule is about 1 nanometer, we will be at 10 nanometer length. That has some strong advantages in terms of binding to the target. It has also some disadvantages in terms of probably penetrability and stability. But all in all, we believe that we can target exactly the same indications with the peptides that we can do with small molecules.
Well, great. And we'll get into a bit more detail on some of that. But first, let's talk about you. Mm-hmm. So you've worked in the AgTech world for a number of years, different companies. Tell us a little bit about your journey into ag and how, work at places like Syngenta, where I know you worked, how has that influenced what you're doing today?
Everything which I've done before, so Syngenta and the others company basically led me to where we are now. What is important is that I have sort of like a double background. So I studied genetics as well as biochemistry, and that helped me a lot with the journey after that. Syngenta, like big companies, are really great at training people, providing exposure to a lot of different indications, a lot of different scientific problems, and that really helped me as well for the startup world that I entered a few years ago. And Micropep, what was great is that's basically we started from almost scratch with a very small number of people, and to build all of this through now, I mean, was very, very interesting.
Yeah. So these molecules, as you already kind of mentioned, they exist in plants.
Peptides are existing in plants. So you're absolutely right. So peptides are modulators of gene expression. They are modulator of proteins presence activity. So peptides are known for a long time, and they are really existing in plants. What Micropep developed, though, is our peptides, which we have not found yet in plants or in living organisms, but they are still made of completely natural amino acids.
So how did you get to this realization that you could construct or you could use these types of amino acids, these types of micropeptides in agricultural context?
Yeah. So first it came from the discovery of Jean-Philippe Combier, so in 2015, so published in Nature. So that's really what led us to find those Micropeps, so which was basically the funding ground, if you wish, of Micropep. But then what we realize is that peptides are everywhere. And there are different classes, different technologies which are linked with peptides. So the MyPep is one, but then we find also the antimicrobial peptides, so AMPs, antimicrobial peptides. And now we're developing a completely new technology, which is the basis of Chrysalix, so our platform, which is called PPI, so protein peptide interaction. And what we realize is that finding active peptides is not an issue. So we can find active peptides. What is the issue in transforming active peptide into a commercial product is everything around those activities to make it stable enough, to make it producible cheaply enough so that a grower can use it, and to make it practical enough so that you don't ask a grower to change everything that he's doing. And that's where basically Micropep has been really strong, and we will talk about that, but everything came down to AI. So everything came down to the power of the mathematical models that we used and we developed at Micropep.
So I'd love to come back to the discovery platform. What you can tell us, because obviously some of this is proprietary, but so in terms of use and application in the field, you're trying to mimic or get as close to the existing technologies as you can. But you mentioned that there are sometimes challenges that we see with other biologicals around bioavailability and stability maybe. Are those kind of things that you feel you've overcome already with Micropep products?
With our first product that we will start registration of beginning of next year, we have solved some of the issues, absolutely. So we believe that it will be a very, very good product. So the first biofungicides product coming from Micropep. But clearly there are, I mean, with the new products which are coming on the new peptide which will be coming, we realize the importance of having at the same time as we have the efficacy, strong efficacy, we have to develop models as well, mathematical models as well, for stability, because now with all the background information that we gather over the years, we know what makes a peptide stable or less stable. We have a model as well for bioproduction with our system, a proprietary system using Escherichia coli. So we have this system as well, which is allowing us to model bioproduction. And all of that makes us go from, I can't remember the exact number, but it's 10 to 130 different possibilities of a peptide to 10 to maybe, I don't know, 30. And that's all those modeling is helping us really to find the needle in the haystack and finding the active peptides.
So right from the start, you're not just looking for activity, you're building in stability and other factors. Again, I appreciate you probably can't give away all of your secrets, but you mentioned AI. What can you tell us about the discovery platform that you use that allows you to go down from this huge number of molecules to a couple of candidates that you may be able to put into development?
Yeah, so our data science team has spent the last 4 years in developing mathematical models, so using what is available in the outside world, and really to iterate and to make those models learn to find the best peptides based on the different characteristics that we want to give. So we have one model which is really about activity against, let's talk about fungicides, against specific fungi. Then we predict, we synthesize, and we test, and then we iterate on the model, and we go through rounds of that. We are now doing exactly the same for stability, so we are designing and testing peptides, and then we find which ones are the most stable. The same for production. We know that some of peptides are more easily to produce than others, and all those models that we group together now to find the best peptides for a given indication.
And then what about the formulation of the product? Is that an important aspect as well?
Absolutely. No, that's a great point. So stability for us is also linked to formulation. And what we realize that the physical chemical properties of the peptides, as you probably know, some amino acids are charged negatively, positively, more hydrophilic, more hydrophobic, and all of that is also integrating in the formulation parameter. We still have some work to do in formulation because that's a new technology, that's new molecules, and the formulation is, for the moment, was very much developed to help small molecules. So the formulation is one aspect which is of great importance for the peptide technology.
The North Carolina Plant Sciences Initiative impacts lives through innovative applications and discoveries. By leveraging cutting-edge research and technology, we address global challenges related to agriculture, sustainability, and human health.
You've mentioned a couple of a product, at least, that you have in the regulatory pipeline, and so what are kind of the targets that you're focused on in terms of crops or different types of agricultural challenges that the farmers may be looking at?
We started with fungicides, so our first product will be a biofungicide. So as you've seen as well in the press over the last few weeks, I would say few months, that we announced a collaboration with Corteva as well on the biofungicide aspect. But obviously, what everyone wants in the market, in the agtech market at the moment, is the first bioherbicide. So we spend now a significant amount of time in developing a bioherbicide. We are targeting monocots and dicots, and I can just tell you that we have interesting hits or leads in a pipeline, and that we will be announcing in, hopefully not too far away, some good news on that front as well. And obviously the last one, when you have fungicides and herbicides, you are willing to have the third indication, which is insecticides, and we will be starting as well looking and applying the AI technology that we developed for insecticides or bioinsecticides.
I'm not sure I'm allowed to ask you this question, but when you think of herbicides, are you focused on selective herbicides? Are you able to potentially develop a product that would be selective for weeds and away from the crop, or is it more likely to be a non-selective?
That's one of the beauty of the peptides, which is for the peptides, we do not need to focus on catalytic sites of enzymes, for example. Usually small molecules are really targeting catalytic sites of enzymes, but because we are playing with a bigger molecule, one of the advantage of that technology is that we can really target protein-protein interaction and really trying to block two proteins interacting or talking to each other. And because of the size of the peptides, what we believe is that we can do it on the protein surface. And when you look into that, basically the selectivity is coming down to the sequence of those proteins. And we can now align those different sequences and find, as well by structural modeling, how the proteins are structured, or the conformation, and look for proteins which are common or very different depending on the species. So you can build in the design of the peptide, you can build in the selectivity. Either you go for something which is highly selective, which is protein specific or species specific, or to the contrary, you are trying to design peptides, again, more like conserved regions, in terms of tertiary structure, because that's the kind of thing that we can model, and that you can build in the selectivity in your design of the peptide.
So let's talk a little bit about the future of getting your products out there and farmer adoption. I mean, what do you think will be the benefits that you'll be presenting to farmers to adopt these types of technologies and maybe move away from other biologicals or perhaps traditional synthetic chemicals?
Our hope regarding bringing that technology in the hand of the farmers is that they will see the similarities with what they are used to work with, as well as all the the upsides of this technology. When we designed these first biofungicides, we really had in mind how a grower will use it. It's a new technology. It's something that the farmer will need to understand how to use. He will need to sell this technology. So if it was something that we ask them to change their ways of working, change, I don't know, the application, the machinery, the timing, that would be extremely difficult. So we really thought about bringing something in their hands like a normal molecule that they used to work with.
So you've mentioned already weed control, disease control, potentially insect control. Mm-hmm. And this is, I know, a speculative question, but can you imagine down the road perhaps other applications in agriculture of micropeptides, plant physiology type effects? Is that something that's on your horizon?
Yeah, I think this is obviously something we are starting to think about, and we are not the only ones. I'm a strong believer that we will be able to bring new solutions if we can combine those solutions. In other words, biocontrol has some future, obviously, biostimulant as well. And what I would like to see much more are those two working together, making sure that the plants receive what they need depending on the environment they are in or depending on the weather or whatever, as well as biocontrol solutions which can complement biostimulant, or the biostimulant can complement biocontrol. And that's something that Micropep is obviously very interested in, because we're talking about biocontrol, but what about biostimulant? What about drought tolerance? What about heat tolerance? What about cold tolerance? And genetically, those pathways are known. And this is obviously something that we should, or we could start looking into as well, and to make those plants using peptides, making those plants be more resilient to environmental stresses.
So last question is the crystal ball question. You may have already answered parts of this, but looking 10 years down the road, I mean, how do you see a future in crop biocontrol and biostimulation, as you mentioned, and Micropep's involvement in that? What is the future going to look like from a crop input perspective?
I think within the next 10 years, if we're talking about 10 years, I mean, I believe that classical AI, so pesticides,